The COVID-19 pandemic is changing the world in unforeseen and phenomenal manners, working out in a good way past wild creatures recovering urban spaces and novice music exhibitions on Instagram. At the hour of composing this, near 2 million individuals around the globe have tried positive for the infection with more than 125,000 deaths, and the projections work out in a good way over what we'd call sensible. The human expense additionally incorporates the a huge number far and wide who'll endure in the anticipated budgetary downturn, which, by some master gauges, might be our most exceedingly terrible one since the Great Depression. The infection is likewise impossible to miss in that we essentially don't have a clue how it functions. It's something where the genuine, and dependable, specialists reveal to you that they don't know without a doubt, as there are as yet enormous holes between how we anticipate that the infection should carry on, and what we're seeing among the patients on the ground. One of the most concerning pieces of the pandemic is the excessively high pace of fatalities among the older. This permits the infection to spread for all intents and purposes undetected among more youthful, less helpless pieces of the populace. You may believe that is something worth being thankful for, yet it's most certainly not. SARS-CoV-2 can lie undetected and spread far and wide, until it arrives at the more established has and unleashes destruction on them. In the event that the manifestations were more serious and perceptible in their beginning periods, the infection would have had a far harder time arriving at its more seasoned targets. That doesn't imply that the more youthful individuals are insusceptible, however, as a significant number of them have passed on from the infection, as well. It's something we don't yet totally appreciate. As per our present comprehension of the pandemic, moderately fit and more youthful people ought not be building up the more genuine manifestations. It's a major piece of the bigger inquiry of how the infection influences various individuals from numerous points of view, and noting it is critical to forestalling future, conceivably deadlier outbreaks. Despite the somewhat considerable rundown of things we despite everything don't think about the COVID-19 pandemic, we do realize that it originated from creatures. There's as yet wild discussion around precisely which creature it was, with pangolins, bats and even poultry as potential suspects. However, we're speculating analysts will get to the creatures once they're finished with the humans. What's puzzling researchers, however, is the means by which the transformed, human type of the infection is presently transmitting back to creatures, something nobody had anticipated. Among wild creatures, a tiger at Bronx Zoo was as of late determined to have the COVID-19 strain, alongside a few others beginning to show comparative side effects. While it's not really the main instance of its sort, the entirety of different instances of human-to-creature transmission include family pets. This is the primary example of the SARS-CoV-2 strain contaminating wild creatures, and nobody is certain how. Our best speculation is that it originated from one of the contaminated zoo laborers with no side effects. On the off chance that that is the situation, it ought to have given to different creatures, as well. No other creature, not even the other enormous felines, have demonstrated any side effects yet, so it's conceivable that it just influences tigers for some reason. It's actual that the COVID-19 flare-up has disproportionately influenced the primary world, implying that a portion of the world's best human services specialists are as of now working diligently attempting to see how it functions. Worryingly, however, that hasn't implied a lot, as the SARS-CoV-2 strain has demonstrated to be unmistakably more hard to comprehend than we ever imagined. At the core of the issue lies the unavoidable issue about the major organic structure of the infection. While we do realize that it's formed like a spiky ball, with the spikes intended to break into living tissue, precisely how that converts into the ridiculously high pace of its spread stays a riddle. The same number of other moderately innocuous infections, including different coronavirus strains, have the ability to do that, as well. We just don't have the foggiest idea what it is about the SARS group of coronaviruses that makes them so savage to people, or even, as we'll come to in a piece, how it figured out how to influence people at all. The science of the infection may assist us with bettering comprehend its belongings. However, there's as yet the topic of precisely how the SARS-CoV-2 strain figured out how to taint people by any stretch of the imagination. While we're no aliens to coronaviruses contaminating individuals, they've generally required some an opportunity to change and figure out how to taint new has. The last SARS strain, additionally called SARS Great, required some an opportunity to change in the human body before bringing about any genuine harm. The present infection, in any case, apparently realized how to contaminate and slaughter as it so happens, as it hasn't changed in any impressive route since the beginning of the pandemic. That doesn't imply that it isn't transforming, however none of the transformations have had the option to pick up strength over the first one. Put it along these lines, the present SARS-CoV-2 strain doesn't have to change itself to taint more yet, as it's as of now ready to do that without much effort. While we ponder a huge number of cases appearing far and wide consistently, specialists are confronted with another unexplained issue. Numerous patients that were recently seen as negative are presently trying positive, raising doubt about the very strategies and instruments we're utilizing to distinguish it, while the facts confirm that the infection can stay torpid for quite a while before it shows any side effects. Almost every nation is as of now considering before releasing presumed patients. Rules from the now disrespected and defunded WHO necessitate that every recuperated patient should test negative for the infection twice, with an interim of in any event 24 hours between the tests. Concerningly, a portion of those recouped patients are currently trying positive for the infection, and we have no clue why. 7. According to certain specialists, the infection may be able to deactivate and reactivate itself inside a human host, however it could likewise be patients getting re-tainted from different sources subsequent to being released, or something different altogether. We simply don't have the foggiest idea. Those conceivable outcomes, however, go against the well-known idea that the recouped patients would build up a resistance towards the infection, as it works in most different ailments we are aware of, which would thusly fortify the aggregate insusceptibility of the entire populace. In addition, if the infection can simply reactivate itself spontaneously, what does recouped even mean? If you study the different pandemics ever, you'd understand that the mystery of the Chinese infection's prosperity isn't its high pace of spread or even fatalities. We've managed far deadlier ailments than this one before. It's no place near the Black Death or the Spanish flu in its passing tally or pace of disease. It is, in any case, extraordinary in one way. Contaminated individuals could approach their lives with gentle or even no manifestations by any stretch of the imagination, helping it reach significantly a greater number of individuals than any of those maladies ever could. It makes, essentially, a general public brimming with typhoid Marys, or maybe more fittingly for our time, coronavirus Karens. What researchers don't have the foggiest idea, however, is what number of these cases are out there. Now, obviously known diseases or well-known hotspots can't be exclusively liable for the downpour of cases pouring in constantly. While there have been numerous cases wherein patients with gentle or no indications were tried positive for the infection, those are just the ones we had the option to test. Individuals with a runny nose or hack tend to not consider it a serious deal, and as indicated by numerous specialists and researchers, they might be the essential purpose for the stunningly quick spread of the virus. It's no breaking news that the novel coronavirus strain influences everybody in an unexpected way. The quantity of fatalities are path higher for the generally more seasoned individuals, which is famously clarified by their debilitated insusceptibility. That seems like a natural clarification, however not in the event that you consider that the infection is for all intents and purposes inadequate on youngsters. Contrasted with grown-up fatalities, the quantity of fatalities among kids have been, fortunately, nearly negligible. 10. While it's very extraordinary news, it's likewise illogical, as children nowadays are not really known for their high insusceptibility to infections, or wellness. Truth be told, kids are as a rule at a lopsidedly higher danger of contracting respiratory viral diseases, similar to the normal influenza. But then, a lot more individuals expected to have better systems to fend off the infection have kicked the bucket from it than children, and we truly have no clue why. At this point, we have a genuinely smart thought about how the novel coronavirus murders its casualties, regardless of whether a considerable lot of the conditions paving the way to that point are still covered in puzzle. What we despite everything don't totally see, however, is the manner by which anybody recuperates from it. Usually for different maladies, patients recoup by creating antibodies, which don't simply assist them with fending off the present disease, yet in addition secure their body against future assaults by a similar strain. That resistance may not be lasting, as on account of the influenza infection, however the body despite everything holds a few indications of having fended off the disease. That's not the situation for a shockingly high number of recouped COVID-19 patients, and scientists are attempting to get why. In one investigation done in China, a large portion of the recuperated had created antibodies explicitly implied for the SARS-CoV-2 strain, which is the means by which we'd expect it would work. 30% of the patients, in any case, had no indications of those or some other related antibodies, and it's hazy how their bodies recuperated by any stretch of the imagination. Regardless of whether the quantity of cases the world over is developing at a disturbing rate, we can at any rate follow the greater part of them to potential wellsprings of the infection. Realizing that an emergency clinic is a hotspot can assist us with isolating and separate the territory, contact each and every individual who may have been in its region during the pandemic, and guarantee that it doesn't contribute towards any more infections. Worryingly, however, we're likewise observing many puzzling cases from around the globe with no detectable course of disease. For one, a little child in Gujarat, India 13, got tainted and passed on in spite of there being no known cases in that whole region. What's more, one man in California, 14, turned into the principal American to get the infection without coming into contact with any potential host. Most nations around the globe are putting forth a valiant effort to stem the pace of disease, including exacting estimates like legitimately authorized lockdowns and social separating rules. The entirety of that, nonetheless, depends on the supposition that all that we think about the infection is right. As increasingly more research is demonstrating us, we know practically nothing, and our avoidance strategies should reliably develop on the off chance that we get any opportunity of battling this. The greatest puzzle of the COVID-19 pandemic is that we essentially have no clue about how it spreads, and any individual who says they do is simply hazarding a theory. While it was before accepted that it could just spread by means of physical touch, new research proposes that the infection could stay above water noticeable all around for any longer than we recently suspected, and doesn't require transporters like hack beads to spread. In a conceivably related case, a whole ensemble was contaminated with the infection regardless of staying away from one another consistently. Once more, it's our best conjecture that they got it from the air, as we're as yet not satisfactory on all the manners in which it could spread.